Dude, back at it with another video. NFL season has been here, but the official preseason has started. Texans just wrapped up their first preseason game in Minnesota, taking the L 20-10. But there were a few good things to talk about, so let's just talk about this preseason game. First thing I want to do is talk about that first drive with Nick Haley calling the plays. Davis Mills at the quarterback position because none of the starters played. At least most of them did not play. That being said, I really like the first drive from Nick Haley and Davis Mills. The run game actually looked pretty decent. I was like, okay, if we're getting Dare Agumbawale 9-yard run, 4-yard run, 6-yard run, I mean, he was carving up that Minnesota defense. Obviously, not every starter was in for the Minnesota defense. Most notably, Grenard wasn't in on the line, former Houston Texan. But still, offense looked great on that first drive. Run game looked good. Mechie had a big catch. And then obviously, you tie it in with a nice reception from Barrios to score that first touchdown. We also got to see a rookie get their hands on the ball, being Jalen Knoll. He had kind of a screen pass that he gets up vertical. You see his speed, you see his vision, you see his quickness. He does end up fumbling the ball, however, hitting the ground. So kind of a non-contact with a player fumble, but a ground fumble. Obviously, you cannot have that if you're Jalen Knoll. You don't want your first touch to go that way. Thankfully, the Texans recovered. And then we did have Davis Mills kind of miss a pass, a touchdown pass to Cade Stover in the end zone. But overall, I mean, the offense looked refreshed. The offensive line took care of business in the run game, and you scored a touchdown on the first drive, something that Minnesota was not able to do. Now, you would only score a field goal after that. We'll talk about that right now. Obviously, some pretty bad quarterback play to talk about for the Houston Texans, and that's what we're really going to do. We're just going to start breaking down every facet of this preseason game. Starting with the quarterback play. Davis Mills misses the open touchdown to Cade Stover. It's fine. It's whatever. Then we get Slovis. Slovis comes in, and man, Slovis does not have great pocket presence. Really not a strong arm either. Once he gets pressured, he was kind of panicking, not extremely fast. He actually got sacked and ended up falling to the ground, and it could have been a strip sack, really. Like his arm gets brushed, and I'm just like, I was shocked he held onto the football. He does, but he hits the ground. He tries to get rid of it. His knee was down, so it ended up being a sack, but Slovis, there's not much there. I know there was some conversation about maybe Davis Mills' spot being taken. Obviously, that's not going to happen, especially when you start looking at Graham Mertz and what he accomplished. Graham Mertz, 3 picks in maybe a quarter of playing time. Not something you want to see if you're Graham Mertz. And I remember there were some Florida fans giving me some crap for basically complaining and whining about taking Graham Mertz in the 6th round. Yes, it's a 6th round pick, but could we have not have rolled the dice on anyone else? I get what you're going to be saying. It's his first preseason game. It's his first game as a starter, as a pro. Not a starter, but a pro. I understand that, but look, this is exactly who this kid has been since high school or since college, right? He throws interceptions. That being said, I actually did think he had better pocket awareness, better arm talent, and better speed out of the pocket than Slovis. I mean, obviously, you're signing Graham Mertz not to take Davis Mills' spot, but to maybe perhaps get in and take Slovis' spot. But you can't be that inaccurate. You can't throw 3 picks that quickly. 2 of them were his fault. I'm just going to say the third one was his fault as well. I'm going to have a hard time believing that, just because the pass was tipped, that it wasn't his fault when he's already thrown 2 interceptions. Just throwing into traffic, trying to force it. I believe it was a 3rd down, maybe even a 4th. I believe it was a 3rd down when he had that 3rd interception. So you don't like seeing that from Graham Mertz. Let's talk about the offensive line. There were too many penalties again on the offensive line. Fisher had a false start, and man, Fisher has been rough. Even on that big play from Mechie in the first drive with that first offensive line unit, Fisher did not look great. He actually got Davis Mills pressured, maybe even a quarterback hit that he gave up when Mechie had that big pass. Blake Fisher, the experiment, is running thin. He did not look great. He had a false start on that same drive, I believe, when we were like in the red zone. Like he's just got to get this mental stuff clicking because his spot looks like it's going to be taken by Ariante Ursary. That first offensive line, Ursary at left tackle, Cam Robinson a little banged up, obviously. Drew Scruggs at left guard, Andrews at center. Then you had Ed Ingram at right guard, and you had Blake Fisher at right tackle. Fisher by far looking the worst of the 5. Ed Ingram, I know we've kind of talked about him not really being a great right guard option. I mean, I didn't see anything too bad from him. Then you had 78 with the false start. I believe that's forgetting his first name. I believe it's Jalen Thomas. And then Thomas also gave up a sack. Fisher looked bad on that rep as well. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to talk about with the offensive line. A couple too many false starts and penalties for me that I'd like. Also, Brevin Jordan had a false start, so that made up a majority of the penalties. So a little sloppy, but, that's kind of what you expect. So yeah, other than that, we can talk about the running backs. Woody Marks wasn't super inspiring from the run. Dare had the best reps with that first unit. Mechie had a return that wasn't super inspiring either. Barrios by far looked like the best returner. And then Jawar Jordan actually fumbled. I believe it was a punt return. Luckily, the Texans recovered it, but man, Jawar Jordan cannot be fumbling balls, especially if they're trying to get him on special teams because he might not make this team, especially if Mixon and Chubb get healthy again. So yeah, nothing super crazy from the running backs to report there. Other than, like I said, that first drive, Dare having some pretty nice moments in that first drive. So I did like seeing that, and I did think it was a good sign. Hey, if we can get Dare going on these 9-yard, 5-yard, 6-yard pickups, then Mixon's gonna have a field day. Higgins wasn't, he got targeted twice. He probably had like 6 or 7 yards on the day. Already talked about Knowles' contribution. He had, I think, a couple other catches. One thing I'll say about Mechie is he didn't really hurt himself in this preseason game. He did have one pass that got broken up. He was able to get both of his hands on it, and the linebacker or the DB, their back was to the ball, yet somehow they had an arm reached back and kind of knock the ball out. And so if you're Mechie, I mean, if you're a really good second round pick, you probably come down with the ball. Mechie, obviously not being that, wasn't able to make that catch. And I get it. It was a good play by the DB. And I'm not trying to say Mechie had a bad day because he didn't. He had very nice receptions. He had some good yards, but wanted a little more from Mechie on that moment. And then, yeah, Barrios also had a good day. Hutchinson had a good day as well. So when you're trying to fight for a roster spot, you need those little things that make you stand out. And I thought that it would have been hard to catch. I think a great receiver could have made the catch. Mechie obviously not making the catch. And then let's just really quickly flip over to the defense. Again, I'm really not going to have much here. The key thing with the defense is Darrell Taylor going down with an injury. I was watching the Vikings broadcast, so I'm not 100% sure how he's doing, but hopefully he's doing well. Tremont Smith did not look good in coverage. I know he's like a fourth string cornerback, but he gave up a touchdown. He gave up another big play. I know Hansen had a rough moment on the first play of the drive with Addison where his back was turned to him, kind of got embarrassed. D'Angelo Ross gave up another 19 yards to Addison, and I get it. These aren't guys that you want to be counting on. C.J. Gardner-Johnson might be getting healthier. That being said, you still have to keep an eye out for D'Angelo Ross and Yeast because they might have to step in if he misses time. Yeast, I thought, played really well. I didn't hear his name get called. I didn't see a big catch on Yeast, so Yeast did fine. Ross had a couple hiccups every now and then. Miles Bryant also had a play that was almost a touchdown. The guy didn't survive the contact. They ended up scoring on the next play after that. Bryant had a couple of nice tackles, a couple of mistakes as well, but is to be expected. EJ Speed, I thought, did probably the best on the defense for himself. The linebacker we just picked up from the Colts. I thought EJ Speed had a pretty good showing and outing with some tackles he had a TFL. He had a good, nice tackle as well. He's a hard hitter, really big linebacker. I thought he did really well. And then I guess I'll mention the one sack of the day, which went to Casey Toohill. Thought that was a cool sack. It's whatever. I'm not expecting him to get much run, but that was the one sack of the day. And unfortunately, no interceptions for the Texans, but we did get a fumble recovery right after Mertz threw his second interception. So that was kind of the defense for the day. So yeah, that's really all I got for this. Let me know if I missed anything. Again, you're not going to gather too many insights when these starters don't play, but I don't know. It was fine. I think the most you could glean from it was that first drive being pretty substantial, seeing some good movement. It's always nice when you score on that first drive, something that we did not do enough last year. So I'm excited for the Nick Haley era. I know I like to pick out some things that I don't like, but overall, you're really trying to glean that first drive with those second string players, and I thought they did phenomenal. I thought they did really well. So that's really all the insights that I picked up. Let me know if you guys picked up anything else, if there's anything I missed, and I will see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.